My two big guys here. I was able to work with these two guys for 3 years. They were both ranked nationally in shot put, both in the top 50 in the country, number 2 in the state, and he was number 3 in the state when I was able to work with these guys. And I started out by saying this is my journey from the field to the classroom, because one thing I always knew, I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to work with kids. I'd grown up around it, but I didn't know where that would lead me into a path into education. Okay, so just about me. Coaching has always played a pretty big role in my life. I grew up in downtown Pulaski. My dad was a coach for 18 years, and we lived in a somewhat socioeconomic downturn in that area. So I grew up watching my dad take care of kids, look after kids. And I mean, I could come home any time at night, and there might be like a couple kids just have to stay at our house because, the home life wasn't so good. So from a very young age, my dad instilled in me, to be there for people, and to be that role model and things of that nature. My parents, neither of them had a college education, so they're very hard workers, and they instilled that into me as well. But I had some great role models. I had some great coaches in my life. I had great parents, and I had a great AP government teacher who really pushed me to continue on into my education. So I graduated, from Virginia Tech in 2012 with a bachelor's in history. I didn't know what to do. I ended up going to work at a beer distributor. I worked there for like 2 years. And, like I said, I had my high school AP teacher ask me, she's like, what do you want to do? You like coaching, what do you want to do? You need to do something with your life, because you don't want to run a forklift on the second shift, forever. And I took that next step, and I applied to this program, and it's been great. And I've always loved working with kids. It's something that I've been doing for a while with coaching. This is my 5th year coaching, so I've always really enjoyed that relationship and building those bonds with kids and helping them improve. My first year in the program, it was an eye-opener for me, because I just didn't realize how much it entailed. I think I thought when I came out of Tech with a BA, I could go right into teaching on a provisional or something, but I didn't realize, like, oh my gosh, there's all these lesson planning, and there's specific ways to do it, and there's ways that you can get the most out of it, okay? So, and I felt like throughout my field experience, I gained a great deal of knowledge during this time period. Okay, I worked as a special ed aide at Auburn my first year. This little boy beside me. This is pretty cool because he doesn't stand up much, and when he stands up, it's pretty remarkable. And I think being an aide the first year that I was in grad school and being able to work with this child for a year, it had a really big impact on my life. It made me appreciate things. It made me I couldn't lose attention. My attention was always with him. If he ate, I ate. If he went to the bathroom, I took him to the bathroom. When he wanted to go walk, we walked. He was 100% attention. I couldn't never turn my head as a child who would have, 10 plus seizures a day, so it was really important that we paid attention. When I first met with Eric wasn't able to walk. And by the end of the year, Eric could walk half a mile. And that was really cool. That was really special to me. So I was debating, should I put this in there or not? And I wanted to, because if anything has happened in my life to this point, this has had the biggest impact on me, to work with this child. And I love it. And I've become very close with him, still meet with his mom and him on Sundays, and I still am able to walk him and talk to him and things like that. And he's a great child to work with. All right, so early on, I was very stressed out in my field experience, okay? I got there, and it was like, I don't know how I'm going to balance all this lesson planning, and we started building that unit plan, we started building the curriculum map, and I was always really stressed out. And I was like, how am I going to balance this with coaching? But my CT had a really great CT. He was also a coach, he was a history teacher, so he was able to lay some foundations for me and just tell me to relax. But one of the greatest things about my CT, he was always honest with me. And he was just always like, hey, you can try, but it's probably not going to work, kind of guy. And a lot of times it didn't. It just failed, but he would let me fail and then say, this is what you can do. What a great role model he was to me. And I've known him for a while now. He was just a really fine man. Prepare. That's what I feel like I took from my student teaching experience is like, be prepared. Because sometimes when I walked into those block style classes, I just didn't feel like I had it all together. Or, sometimes I felt like I was just trying to stay a day ahead of the day ahead of my class. And trying to balance that all out. So now, like, understanding why it's important to develop the curriculum map, why it's important to have the unit plan in place so you can build all these pieces. The block schedule, my gosh, make sure you have enough to do, right? I mean, there's a couple times I was in class, I was like, dang on, I might have should have had more there. So, and I got better throughout the semester with this, right? And of course, balancing teaching and coaching. I want to talk about my lesson plan improvements. So this is one of the first lessons I did back in Comp and Con. I did it with this biohazard lesson plan, which is like one of my favorite lessons to teach. I love it. It has the international theories, Cold War stuff, and it's really fun. But this is one of the first lesson plans I designed to teach this lesson. Okay, and one of the things I want to point out is that I don't have any objectives here. Okay, so I don't have any linkages between my understandings. I don't have any linkages, I don't have any big questions, I don't have any linkages with the standards. Okay, so like the standard up here is explaining key events of the Cold War, including competition between American and Soviet economic political systems, or assessing the impact of nuclear weaponry. Well, my essential question doesn't link to that at all. Okay, it says, how do the concepts of realism and liberalism connect to the decisions making the Cold War by the United States and the Soviet Union? So like, I don't have any really good linkages. Okay, so it was like, I wanted to teach something else, but I didn't want to build anything off the standard. I didn't want to scaffold off the standard. I didn't want to have, and obviously I didn't use the backwards design model in this, you can tell. And up here it talks about there is no ties between the essential question. Now, essential question has to do with realism and liberalism, but it doesn't have to do with assessing the impact of nuclear weapons. So I'm focusing on these somewhat abstract theories, but I'm not focusing on what the SOL wants me to teach that day. And I'm not going to narrow it down all the way to the point where, okay, well, that's all I'm going to focus on. But I think the point I'm trying to make is that I never even hit the SOL. And I never had an objective to tie in the understandings of the questions. And again, I never even addressed Standard A. I mean, nowhere in this lesson plan is Standard A ever addressed anyway. It shouldn't even be in there. Because that gives me a false sense like, oh, I've covered this. But actually, I haven't. Because nowhere in here am I going to talk about including competition between American and Soviet economic and political systems. Nowhere in this lesson do I even mention that. I'm specifically talking about nuclear weapons. I'm specifically talking about the developments in international theories and how nuclear weapons impact international law and international thought during this time period. So that's not in there. Okay? So another thing, the first time I did this, and I had this is even on this is in my e-portfolio, the first time I did this, it did not go well. I did not have pre-assigned groups. I did not have nobody had roles, and when I told the class to get in groups, and I think, at least I think you observed me the first time I taught it, back in my early field experience. I mean, it was like chaos to get them into the correct groups. I said, guys, get in groups of 4. And I had a group of 2 and a group of 7, I mean, so like breaking them back up. So I need the pre-assigned groups. And not only do I not pre-assign groups, but I don't have to just do it to start out the class period. So the class starts out with me saying, guys, get in groups. And then I try to start lecturing to them about liberalism and realism, which they have no idea what this is, right? I'm speaking about these out and left field theories. So here I have the structure of the groups, and I have some good things in here. Like they're going to do these readings, they're going to answer questions as a group. But if I'm going to use cooperative learning, how am I going to use it? How am I going to assign people roles? And which I do. I change this lesson plan up. I teach this lesson plan again during my, again, we're talking about foreign policy with another government class, and it actually goes much better than this one does.